what's going on, everyone? This is Dan French. This is Wealthytainment. You guys, thank you so much for being a part of my channel and tuning in, and all the subscribers and also the comments. Thank you so much. You guys know the channel. It's about how to, it's motivation, current events, current articles, and I like to talk a lot about those trending topics that's in the news. And one of them that I want to talk about is real estate agents with NAR, $418 million class action lawsuit. And is this the end of the real estate industry as we know it for realtors, right? We're going to get into that. I'm going to talk to you a little bit on what I think is going to happen. We're going to listen to the CEO of Redfin, give you my opinion on what he had to say. He recently came out and gave an interview. Now, I want to talk about agents in general and why this is happening with this lawsuit. Sellers are, list their home. There's a certain percentage that part of that goes to a buyer agent, and these people that were selling their house are stating in this lawsuit that they did not want to pay or did not want to pay as much as they did towards the buyer agent. They feel it's an unfair advantage because if you're a National Association of Realtors part of that, if you're a realtor, then they have the MLS, and that's the only way to list your house on the MLS is if you sign up with a realtor, which they're saying is an unfair advantage. Now, we're going to get into that. I'm going to tell you why I'm going to give you my opinion and why I think that's not necessarily true. Now, also, the problem out there is a lot of buyers are not educated on what their fees are. And that was brought up in this interview. And attorneys also have a part in this as well. And is this going to be the end of that fly-by-the-night agent and that part-time agent working another job? I'm going to say yes, and I'll tell you why I think that's going to happen here in this video. So again, let's go ahead and listen to what this CEO of Redfin had to say. I'm going to come back and unpack this, and then I'm going to give you my opinion, and we'll move forward.
The big news in real estate, that legal settlement by the National Association of Realtors that we were talking about, if approved by a federal court, the deal could change the fee structure for real estate commissions and put money back in the pocket of home sellers. To talk more about this, Diana Olick joins us now with a special guest. Hey, Diana.
Hey, Joe. Good morning. And Glenn Kelman, CEO of Redfin. Good to see you again. We had you on Friday when this first came out. You reacted to it. Now you're talking about changing how you're doing your business model. Tell us about what you're doing in reaction to this.
We're just getting more aggressive about selling homes directly to consumers. There are so many people who called us over the weekend after the news of the settlement broke and said, I don't want to pay a buyer's agent. I want to hire you to sell homes directly to home buyers. We have a big website to do that, a bunch of software tools to do that. Let's get to work. That was the message this weekend.
But what are some of the anecdotes that you're hearing from consumers? I know there was a lot of confusion about it over the weekend, about buyer's agents, seller's agents, who pays who. Have you had to do a lot of explaining, or have you simply just answering their questions?
Well, mostly people have been asking if commissions are going to come down, if I still have to pay a buyer's agent when I list my home. Everyone's trying to figure out if this industry is really going to change. And anyone in the real estate industry has had the same experience, which is that my phone is blowing up. I'm getting text messages. I'm getting emails. Everyone wants to know, is this for real?
But what about buyer's agents? I mean, the argument is to be made that for first-time buyers, for perhaps people lower income who might not know about what kind of deals, how they're made, how negotiations are done, how escalation clauses are done, isn't a buyer's agent helpful for a lot of people?
Absolutely. We just think people ought to have a choice. We are buyer's agents too, so we know that people need guidance through the whole process, what they can afford, how an inspection contingency works. They want to tour listings offered by different brokers, and the only way they can do that today is through a buyer's agent. So obviously many people are going to need that support, but they shouldn't have to hire someone. They should do it because they want to. And when they do that, they should have a voice in how much that agent gets paid. That's the premise of this reform in the industry.
Now, is it your opinion, as some of the headlines have been screaming, that this is going to slash commissions entirely and that the people who work for Redfin, your colleagues, are going to lose millions of dollars?
Well, Redfin has saved consumers $1.6 billion in fees. So actually what we saw over the weekend is a higher affinity for Redfin, where all these people started asking us about listing their home, representing them as buyers, because they know they can get a deal from Redfin, and they feel like this news gave them permission to do so.
And explain that just so our viewers know. Redfin has a standard commission, unlike the industry, which was anywhere from 5 to 6%, which was kind of the generalized commission. You could negotiate that, but Redfin has a different model, right?
Right. So we charge a fee as low as 1% to list a home, If we sell it directly to a buyer, the total commission would be about 2%. When we represent a buyer on a listing hosted by another brokerage, we refund part of our commission to that buyer. So for 18 years, we've been trying to change the game and give consumers a better deal. Sometimes that's been easy, sometimes that's been hard, but over the weekend, it got easier.
Okay, and so not just plug in Redfin, I know you're the CEO, you have to, but have you actually been seeing more business because of this fee structure over the weekend, of people confused about how the general market is and saying, okay, Redfin seems clear?
Yes, so listing demand, the day of the settlement, popped 14%. Homebuyer demand.
All right, so let's get into what this guy had to say. First off, you know, I want to give you my opinion on just that interview with the CEO of Redfin. So I went through Redfin. I actually listed my house for 1.5%. And I'm going to tell you guys, it wasn't a great experience. Like, it was okay, but you pay for what you get. You know, it's no different than if you're going out and hiring a general contractor to do a job that's a specialist or something that is of need, versus you hiring a handyman to give you, you know, maybe inferior product versus, say, the contractor. So it's just like that with real estate. When I hired them through Redfin, I literally had them come into my house. The agent came in, looked around. You need to do this, 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 and this. Okay, cool. No problem. I was all in, right? Well, I'll tell you one thing, though. I had a lot of people coming through my house, not from Redfin, just because it was listed on the MLS, which was great. But I was handling all the text messages. I was handling all pretty much everything. And I don't even think I saw the agent until closing. So what it comes down to is, are you going to look at an agent and say, well, Redfin's charging 1%, 1.5%, and I want to go that route because it's cheaper, and you're ultimately listing your own house or selling your own house in a way, because it is listed on the MLS, but you pay for what you get. You're not getting much feedback. You're not getting a lot of information from the realtor. Now, that's negotiation. You know, again, in that message that she said, it's negotiable. 5 to 6% is not a standard fee that everybody charges. It's a customary fee that is presented, but you can always negotiate with realtors. This is what I was told, right? So Redfin, they're trying to fill their pockets. You got Redfin out there, the Zillows of the world. They're all online platforms. All they want to do is get eyeballs onto your house and list it for 1%, maybe pay 2% total. They're giving back some incentive and closing costs. That could be from a lender's credit. I don't know. I don't know how their model works with that. But I can tell you that in the world, you typically pay for what you get. If you want that service, you want to get into a house that's specifically yours, that, you know, maybe is a challenge. If it's a multiple offer scenario and you need to know the ins and outs on the sides of both sides of it, this is what I was told from realtors. It's a lot of times better to have a realtor that's going to be your realtor. Where I feel Redfin, yes, they have real estate agents, but again, it's an online platform. So going back to what he said, of course he's going to come out and say all these things. The business is great. We're up, 14%. It all popped. Again, I get it. He's trying to generate business and trying to get people out there to notice Redfin. But there's a place for every platform, okay? So what I'm trying to say is that that's negotiable. If you want to take a discount and go down that road and risk that, great. You don't have that one-on-one. You don't have that information where what you need from a realtor or understanding both sides. That's what I was told from my good friend realtor here. Now, also, I want to bring up attorneys, okay? It's no different than when you talk about this 5 to 6%. Attorneys also charge a fee. They could actually represent you as a realtor on the East Coast. They said, oh, it's $1,500. Yeah, to start. I had a guy that was a real estate attorney that I needed help with him. And just to get him going, this was on something personal with me, $1,500 just for a retaining fee. You don't think that realtors know that competition is going to deplete if you have a class action lawsuit like this and hopefully push out more real estate agents? More money, more options, that's what you're looking at. So obviously attorneys have a motivation or an agenda here, because now you're eliminating a lot of your competition. So is Redfin. They're trying to eliminate that competition. They're an online platform. So this whole 5 to 6% that everybody's talking about, sellers coming out and saying, well, you know, we don't want to pay the 5 to 6%. We want some of that money back. Well, imagine if I went to that same attorney and I said, hey, what do you charge? And they said $5,000. And I said, okay, great. And he said, well, everything's done. And I came back and I, you know, whatever it is, I lost the lawsuit. Maybe I didn't feel that the guy or the girl, whoever it is, the attorney didn't do a good job. I'm not going to go back to him and say, hey, man, I want $3,000 of that back if they gave representation. Why? Because you signed a contract. You don't think the attorney's going to fight that? So it all comes down to, did the sellers of these properties that were sold, did they write and sign a contract knowing the amount of either commission or percentage of commission, which is negotiable? Again, the key word is signing a contract that's negotiable. If you know what you're spending or paying, then you have nothing to stand on, because you wrote a contract unless there was malpractice or something came through that was malicious, which we know there's bad apples in all of real estate. You know, this lawsuit to me is just an example of trying to get money and a money grab, because you got to think that, you know, if you're a buyer out there, this 5 to 6%, and they're saying in this interview, well, the buyers need to know how much they're getting, you know, how much is being charged, you know, first time home buyers, and also, you know, buyers that, or maybe low income buyers. No problem. I understand that. And I agree, right? I'm not saying that there does not need to be more transparency in fees, but you know what? They don't pay the fees. It's the seller of the property. So you're telling me that because the seller knew what they were signing in a contract, and the buyers, not the buyer's agent, but the buyer's agent represents them, but the buyers are saying, well, how much did the seller actually spend? It doesn't matter to them, because at the end of the day, they're the ones only paying, they're not paying any of those fees. They're paying title fees. They're paying down payment fees. They're paying lender fees if they need a loan. But the situation is, they're using this as an excuse, in my opinion, to say, oh, well, there needs to be more transparency because the buyers need to know what's going on. Buyers don't pay the fees. This comes from the listing agreement from the seller, right? So does there need to be more information? Yes. Does there need to be agents out there that's going to help with this, you know, explaining how these fees work, especially if you're a first-time home buyer, especially if you're somebody out there with low income? And, you know, not to discredit low income, maybe they just have low income and they do know how it works. So you can't really say low income is the actual, is a situation where they just don't know. But it comes down to what is going to happen with real estate agents, right? Because I think realtors, everybody's saying, well, realtors are going to go away. They're done. It's over. All this data and all this information, it's done, right? I think the landscape for real estate is going to change. I think competition was already there. And I think that realtors are going to still survive. Why? Because people like to do business with people. Secondly, you're not going to have people that are going to rely just on online to pick and also negotiate a contract. Negotiation and signing contracts is really something that is an expertise. You have to have a lot of people out there that understand how to navigate through that and have your best interest. What do I think is going to happen? I think commissions will always be negotiable. And I do think that when you look at the real estate world, this is going to go through. We're going to have more regulations, or people are going to have more regulations in the world for realtors. I still feel realtors are going to survive, but I do think the fly by the night, also the part-time agent, you have to be in the trenches 24/7 now, right? You got to have all your ducks in a row. You got to be in there, because you're not going to get these little one-offs or these, extra scraps of people out there that are looking for representation. They're going to be gobbled up because all these agents, it's going to probably take out a lot of the agents in the market. What do you guys think? You guys let me know. Is real estate agents going to stick around? Are they going to survive this? Or do you think that it's going to be something where it's going to change the landscape and it's going to be the end of realtors? This is Dan French with Wealthytainment. Please subscribe, like the channel. I am out of here, people.